Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. Well, it happened again. New research just published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. In the first randomized clinical trial to make a head-to-head comparison between opioids and other kinds of pain medications, patients who took opioids fared no better over the long term than patients who used safer alternatives. There was no significant difference in pain-related function between the two groups over 12 months, researchers reported this 2 days ago in the Journal of the American Medical Association. So, gigantic opioid crisis here in the United States, fueled in large part by overprescribing of these pain medications by medical doctors, not by naturopathic doctors, not by acupuncturists, not by herbalists, not by chiropractors, not by Ayurvedic practitioners, not by traditional Chinese medical doctors, right? Medical doctors. Overprescribe opioids, people die. Nobody goes to jail. And now, as it turns out, the opioids aren't any better than Tylenol or Advil for overall pain relief. Like the fella said, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. Remember years ago, Vioxx, all the rage, best pain medication ever to be invented by humankind. Only one side effect with Vioxx, it killed about 60,000 people. Those are conservative estimates. Nobody went to jail. Then Bextra came along. Bextra was advertised by the pharmaceutical industry to treat conditions which the Food and Drug Administration had not approved Bextra to be prescribed for, to the tune of $1.7 billion in profits for the drug company. By April 2005, when Bextra was taken off of the market, more than half of its $1.7 billion in profits had come from prescriptions written for uses the FDA had rejected. And what happened to Pfizer Pharmaceutical, the company that made Bextra? Well, too big to jail. They got a slap on the wrist, a fine, and that's it. Can you imagine what would happen if a naturopathic doctor or a chiropractor or some alternative, quote-unquote, medical practitioner gave one patient one herb, one patient one vitamin, one patient one treatment, and they died from it? It would be headline news. Oh, those quacks. We have to throw them all in jail. We have to increase the standards for medical practice. Blah, 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 blah. But when the MDs do it, when the MDs kill people, they get a pass. You know why this happened? Because in 1912, Congress granted the American Medical Association exclusive control over who could and who couldn't call themselves a medical doctor, and exclusive control over the education of doctors. This was due to pressure from the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. So private businesses pressured the government to create a medical monopoly, and they did. Can you imagine what would happen today if that was tried? Can you imagine if a private business coalition lobbied Congress to make it possible for only McDonald's to sell fast food in the United States? Nobody else can sell fast food except McDonald's. You wouldn't be okay with that. Can you imagine if a private business cartel lobbied Congress to make it illegal for anyone except Exxon to sell gasoline? Can you imagine that? No, you can't imagine that. It wouldn't happen in this day and age, but that is exactly what happened in 1912 in the United States. For over 100 years, we have been beneath the wheel of a medical monopoly. The only medicine that's practiced in your hospital is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine your insurance pays for, by and large, is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine they do research at your university is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine they make commercials about, MD-directed medicine. So you look around and you think, well, the MDs must be best at what they do because they're everywhere all the time. And the only reason they're everywhere all the time is not because they're better at what they do. Look at the opioid crisis. Look at Vioxx. Look at Bextra. Just look. Heart disease escalating. Type 2 diabetes escalating. Autism. unbelievable. Alzheimer's, unbelievable. While the MDs have been in charge and nobody places the blame where the blame is due. We haven't had a free medical market here for over 100 years. And I'm not talking about financially free. I'm talking about equal access to different types of licensed and regulated medicine. It's about time Congress bellied on up to the bar here. And President Trump initiated a new federal department which oversaw the licensure, the regulation, and the implementation of alternative forms of medicine, and they took that power away from the American Medical Association and the Food and Drug Administration because they've let us down, and that's exactly what's needed. We need a governmental organization to be in charge of the development and the delivery and the regulation of alternative forms of holistic medicine, to give, finally, to put them on par with what the MDs do. And don't get me wrong, the wheelhouse of the MD is trauma care, surgery when it's necessary, and a handful of infectious diseases. They're very, very good at that. But we need equal access. We need to let other licensed and regulated forms of medicine into the game. We've needed to do this for 100 years. It's a medical monopoly, and you are suffering because of it. It's high time things changed. For goodness sakes. And you know, in a free medical market, everything sorts itself out. If you had equal access to naturopathic therapeutics, if your medical insurance paid for naturopathic therapeutics, paid for chiropractic therapeutics, paid for acupuncture, Ayurvedic medicine, botanical medical therapeutics, within a few years, people would gravitate towards the medical therapeutics that worked, because that's what happens in a free medical market. In a monopolized medical market, you have no choices. You know, it's good to be the king. So when Big Pharma develops therapeutics which kill people or bankrupt people, there's no change. Because the meme in the back of everybody's brains is, well, if the MDs can't figure it out, then nobody can. And the only reason that exists is because of the monopoly which has been in place for over 100 years. It's high time this changed. Mr. President, if anybody in the world can do it, you can do it. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health, and I am encouraging everybody in the world to share this video with their legislator. Maybe we can get some action on the congressional level once and for all to have a free medical market here in the United States. Wouldn't that be something?